chalaos y chalas. Hoy, a ver si hoy hay liftoff, de verdad. Vamos a ver, a ver cómo está el bacalao. Por aquí todavía. A ver, nah. Bueno, esto está a punto, ¿eh? Esto está a partir un piñón. Ya cuando salen las burbujitas estas. Por cierto, se oye, a ver. Vamos a ponernos aquí. Watch Live Starship. Venga, va. Vamos a ver a los de la padre. A ver qué dicen. Vamos a ver a los de la padre. Vale, ahora están explicando. Ah, qué bueno, estos están aquí. Subscribers only mode. Qué bueno, tienen el chat aquí solo para subscribers. Y con cosas de esas que yo no tengo, claro. A ver. There's the landing as well. Yo juraría que este que habla aquí es el... el Elon Musk. No. Esto fuera.
Yo.
Hi, sweetie. By the way, I'm broadcasting live. I think it's only grandma watching, but yeah. I thought you would. Yeah. And I cannot do it now. I'll have to do it later. Okay, it's that they're gonna try to it's been around for a long time already. They're gonna try to do a test flight for the Starship. Okay. A ver, os dejo aquí con... A ver, más programa. Vale, sí, es el navegador. A ver. Es el navegador. Es el navegador que tiene la retransmisión esa en inglés. A ver, os voy a poner... Vale. Ahí está. Espera, vamos a mover esto para el otro lado. No, esto no. Esto que es este de aquí. Aquí. Mira, lo pondremos ahí, que no molesta. Y voy a ponerle de comer al crío y ahora vengo.
Okay. Are you gonna turn off the camera,
No. Okay.
but I need to get my stuff.
Your stuff. Mainly...
Yeah, so just bring it
Jesus
over
Christ, nobody's watching this. God damn it. Here. Make haste. I'm just doing it.
Look, I'm not gonna argue with you.
Look. Okay, well, I'm going back. No sé si se oye o no se oye.
Good morning. On your screen is a live view of Starship as it awaits its second attempt at our first ever integrated flight test from Starbase, Texas. If all goes well, we hope to see our Starship spacecraft and Super Heavy booster, which we collectively call Starship, lift off together for the first time in exactly 33 minutes from now. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kate Tice, Quality Systems Engineering Manager here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California.
And I'm Shiva Bharadwaj, a space operations engineer here at Space.
Se oye algo de fondo? Juraría que aquí no hay... A ver, yo lo oigo, pero no estoy seguro de que se oiga. A ver si consigo ponerle algo. Bueno, os dejo de momento con esto. Yo. Here. Go. There. Huh? It's right here. Just go for a fucking second. Here. All you have to do is warm it up. And grab a chicken breast.
Now, for today's test, we will be
Bueno.
the first of many as we
Apa,
work
ya
towards
estamos aquí de
transitioning
vuelta.
Starship from a developmental into an operational program. And the primary objective today is to gather as much data as we can around the fully integrated vehicle. Now,
si hay alguien oyendo por ahí, se oye algo de... Yo juraría que no se oye nada de fondo, porque
into its ascent, we're going to expect to see Super Heavy separate from the Starship. It'll perform a flip maneuver, and then it'll execute a boost back burn, and we're going to be targeting a hard landing in the Gulf of Mexico.
And while that's happening, we hope to see Starship's 6 second stage engines ignite and watch as Starship coasts for about an hour at altitudes ranging between 100 and
Aquí. Browser.
Be targeting a hard landing in the Gulf of Mexico.
And while
Si hay
that's
alguien por
happening,
ahí
we hope to
oyendo, me
see
puede
Starship's
decir si
6
se
second
oye
stage
el-
engines ignite and watch
se
as
oye
Starship
la-
coasts for
el
about an
sonido
hour
de fondo
at
de-
altitudes ranging between 150 and 250 kilometers before re-entering Earth's atmosphere and make its own hard landing in the Pacific Ocean about 250-ish kilometers offshore. Now, we are not really expecting many
Pues
camera
eso,
views
si hay
after
alguien por ahí,
separation. That is to
si
say,
se oye
if
como
we even make it that
hablan,
far.
vale, perfecto.
But we do promise that whatever
Se oye
views
muy
we do have,
alto,
we will
muy
bring them to you
flojo
live.
o
Yep,
aceptable.
we have a couple of ground stations along the way, so if we are able to get good telemetry, assuming we make it that far into the ascent, then of course those will be available on the
ya
stream.
veo, sí.
And also worth mentioning today, like the whole, just getting the vehicle off the pad is a complex endeavor. We are going to be trying to reduce complexity by attempting those hard water. Teams have been prepping really for the last few days, especially to try to get in today's launch attempt.
And here you can see a live view of the South Padre Amphitheater
27
where
minutos.
both SpaceX employees, friends and family, and members of the public are gathering to
27
watch
minutos.
Starship lift off. And we can see the crowds are gathering there as well.
Esto.
And of course, we want to give a shout out to the SpaceX team. You see them there on screen, members of our launch command, our Star Command Center. That is our Star-based Launch Control Center.
Yep, those are the operators today who are going to be reviewing all the data and, of course, giving us the go, no-go poll, checking the status to try to get in today's launch attempt just around 27 minutes from now.
Off, and we can see the crowds are gathering there
Vale.
as well.
Pues
And
yo
of course, we
creo
want to
que
give a shout out
esto-
to the SpaceX team. You see them there on screen, members
Vale,
of
así
our
me
Launch
gusta más.
Command,
Se oye bien, vale,
our Star
perfecto.
Command Center. That is
Vale, lo
our
único que
Star-based
ahora
Launch
no
Control
lo
Center.
oigo yo,
Yep, those are the
es que me
operators
tengo
today
que
who are going to be
hacer aquí un
reviewing all the
invento.
data and, of course, giving us the go,
Toda esa
no-go poll,
gente,
checking the
esos
status to
son-
try to get in today's
esos
launch
son en
attempt just
el-
around
el-
27 minutes from now.
En la-
And one thing I
en
do want to
la-
mention,
la
I misspoke.
central,
It's
la
not the
oficina
South
de
Padre
control
Amphitheater. It's the Cameron
del
County
cohete,
Amphitheater.
de otros lanzamientos.
Now, the entire
Que
Starship
cada
structure
vez
on your
que-
screen is made
cada vez
from
que-
stainless steel. When it's
que le
stacked,
sale
it
bien un
stands about
lanzamiento, pues
120
claro,
meters
eso
tall.
es
It's
todo
about
un
9 meters around.
acontecimiento.
And we have this awesome
Como
video that
dice-
shows you just how big that is. You can see one of our technicians there doing some final prep work in advance of today's test. And man, there's the 120-meter monster.
The person just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Now, just like Falcon 9, Starship has 2 stages, which we'll talk more about those in a minute. In addition to those 2 stages, Starship actually has a 3rd stage, which we call Stage 0. It consists of all the launch pad infrastructure built around the rocket,
Vale,
as you
ahora
can see
yo
there
me
on your
tengo que
screen.
poner yo
And
los
it's truly
cascos
an engineering
estos.
feat in its
Sí,
own right.
esta gente
Yeah, we've got a
son-
great shot there of the
son
various
que
different components
están-
of it. The pad, the infrastructure, all that is required to get into filling the tanks. Now, let's talk about the Super Heavy. Its name says everything. It's super, it's heavy, it's super heavy. When it's operational, it'll be responsible for providing the power to escape that mighty gravitational pull of Earth that we've got here and take Starship into orbit.
The booster itself stands about 70 meters tall and is roughly the same height as a fully integrated Falcon 9, which is just so crazy to me. But this super heavy booster has a diameter roughly 2.5 times that of Falcon 9, and with 33 much larger engines. We have a beautiful view here. This is one of my favorite views that we're going to get today. Those are our 33 Raptor engines at the base
Vamos
of the
a ver.
super heavy booster.
Yep, and you can see they're in a couple of different rings here. So we've got the outer ring of 20 static engines. They're going to be providing a huge amount of thrust today. to lift off the entire stack. But then we've got the 13 gimbaling engines in the middle, and they're going to be providing the tilt maneuvers and also helping to reorient the booster as it comes
esto que
back
estáis
later in
viendo
today's flight.
ahora
Yeah, and when we say gimbal, it's basically tilting or almost wiggling the engines a few degrees in either direction to allow the booster
Yo
to
imagino
steer
que si
itself just
llegan a
as you said, Shiva.
encenderlos,
And
la
we'll get some
cámara
shots later
esta
of actually a
básicamente se
wiggle test that
fundirá.
we perform ahead of
Eso,
liftoff, just to make sure that
porque
all those engines are able to control their full range of
Con
control
vuestra venia me
authority.
voy a calentar la
One
comida,
thing to
pero
note,
todavía no
those
he
Raptor
comido.
engines are completely designed and manufactured in-house. They are, as many of you know that have been following along,
Sí,
they are
son
a
los
reusable
presentadores.
methane oxygen staged
Presentadores,
combustion
sí. Los
type
de la
engine.
empresa.
So it's a lot of words there. And ultimately, that staged combustion means that we combust the propellant in stages. We kind of pre-combust them in a pre-burner, and by doing so, it allows the engine to be more efficient, i.e. more powerful.
Yeah. Now, like Falcon 9, the Super Heavy has 4 grid fins to assist with orienting itself in its return back to Earth. We got a shot of them there beneath the Starship's aft flaps. Now, as we talked about earlier, Super Heavy is not going to be attempting a land landing today, but with this flight test, we're still trying to get as much data as we can. We're focusing on the fundamental systems and operations, so that's the liftoff portion, but we are going to try to get some data on how the fins work and for that water landing that Super Heavy is going to be making after ascent.
I love that great view of the fins there. Now, Starship, or the spacecraft, is the second stage, and it makes up the top portion of the vehicle. It's designed for carrying passengers and cargo to Earth orbit and beyond. It stands about 50 meters tall, which is a little taller than the Statue of Liberty. It's comprised of 6 Raptor engines, 3 sea level and 3 vacuum engines, which are optimized to operate in the vacuum of space, and they provide a maximum of 258,000 tons of thrust in vacuum. Spacecraft is also outfitted with 4 flaps to help aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude, which you can see those 2 forward flaps there on your screen now. So they help control the vehicle's attitude during atmospheric flight and enable precise landing at the intended location. Now, one thing we gotta mention, the heat shields. They are iconic. Starship is wrapped in a heat shield, which is composed of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles designed to insulate the vehicle during that atmospheric entry. And that's really important because the temperatures can be as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. The hex-shaped tiles, like the ones that Shiva and I have, roughly make up about 2/3 of the vehicle. We can see that we have some different shapes. Mine is slightly curved. As you can imagine, it sits on the curved portions of the Starship vehicle.
Now, the one that I've got is a hexagonal tile that's more flat,
aquí están
and it's
enseñando
really
los-
used for the flatter structures on
enseñando
the vehicle.
las-
And
las
we need a heat
placas
shield because when
estas-
you're coming back in from re-entry,
enseñando las
we're going
placas
supersonic, we're
estas
compressing all the air
de
ahead of us. That
la
ends up causing a lot of
protección
heating
térmica.
along the
Lleva
surface.
toda la
Without a heat
barriga
shield,
del
that would go
cohete.
straight into the structure.
Yeah, one thing that's amazing to me, especially
Para
when
que
I first
básicamente
picked
no-
up one of these heat shield
no
tiles, is that they're so
explote
light.
con la
They almost
entrada.
feel like they're
Cuando vuelva a entrar
made
en
out
la
of foam.
atmósfera
They're
por
that
el-
light, and they
el
kind of sound like
calorazo
it too.
que-
And
que
one thing
provoca
that
eso.
we do want to
Un
mention, in order to reject the maximum amount of heat during that entry, like Shiva was just saying, they're black, and that's because black helps reject that heat that is building up on the exterior of the heat shield.
Now, Starship is designed for vertical takeoff and landing as opposed to taking off and landing like an airplane. And that's because that's really important because we don't have runways on the moon or Mars. Fortunately, at those destinations, the gravity is not as high as it is here on Earth. On Mars, the gravity is just 1/3 of what it is here on Earth, and on the moon, it's just a sixth. So in both of those cases, Starship, with just its engines, can take off without needing the super heavy booster like we do need here on planet Earth.
Now, for today's test, Starship does not have its landing legs attached because, like we said before, it won't be returning anywhere. Starship is expected to make a very hard ocean landing, which, if we even make it that far and manage to get any views, it will certainly make for a very exciting end to today's test. At this point in time, we are 20 minutes, or just over 20 minutes from liftoff. Let's check in with John Insprucker for a status update. Hey, John, how's it looking?
Thanks, Kate. I'm John Insprucker, Principal Integration Engineer
Mira,
here at
aquí está
SpaceX.
John
We're
Insprucker.
currently loading propellant from the ground system into both the first and second stages. Now, both vehicles use the same two propellants. That commonality helps build the reliability. And the fuel today is liquid methane, and that's at a temperature of just over 100 kelvins.
Sí,
That's
John
about minus
Insprucker. Me
272
gusta
degrees
mucho este
below
hombre.
zero on the Fahrenheit scale. Now, liquid methane is a different fuel from
Pero
Falcon 9.
espero que,
That booster
hoy-
uses
que hoy
RP1
salga
kerosene.
también.
However, our oxidizer
No es
is
que lo
liquid
hagan mal
oxygen,
estos
and that's the
chavales,
same as Falcon 9.
Pero
Because there is no oxygen in
Mr.
space to
Norminal
support
is Mr.
combustion,
Norminal.
we have to bring our own. Now, leading up to where we are right now, we had a go-no-go poll. That was conducted just after
por cierto,
T-minus
mamá,
2
se
hours.
oye muy fuerte
And once the
la...
team gave their goes,
Se oye muy
we
fuerte el
started
sonido
loading
de los
propellants onto the
comentaristas
booster
de
at
SpaceX,
T-minus
de los
1 hour and
ingenieros de
39
SpaceX.
minutes. At T-minus
Pues
1
está
hour
bien
and
el
22
volumen
minutes,
este.
we began propellant loading of the ship. The second stage you
mira,
can
lo
see
voy a
on your
bajar un
screen right
poquito.
there. Now, right now,
A
at
ver, ¿qué
T-minus
tenemos por
19
aquí?
minutes and counting from liftoff, the weather and winds are looking good.
Ajá.
We have been watching the ground level
John
winds. They're at
Insprucker.
18 miles an hour. As the morning continues, they will increase, but that is below our limits right now. We're also looking at upper heavy
Están
propellant
cargando
loading completes.
están
That
cargando el
means we'll have all the
combustible.
propellant on the rocket, and the vehicle will be fully loaded with over 10 million pounds of propellant. Now, right now, at T-minus 19 minutes and counting from liftoff, the weather
Ya
and
os
winds
dije-
are looking
ya os
good.
dije
We have been
que-
watching the ground level winds. They're at 18
sí,
miles
se
an
les oye
hour.
bastante.
As the
Lo voy a
morning
bajar un
continues, they
poquito.
will increase, but that is below our limits right
Voy a
now.
bajar un
We're also
poquito.
looking at upper T0 at 8:28 Central, 13:28 Universal Time.
¿Qué? ¿Mejor
Kate,
ahora?
everything is looking good. The teams, the good news, they're not working any issues right now. But if for some reason we do not make our test flight today, if we
Se
have to
les oye
hold,
más que a mí.
we have a
No,
backup
pues entonces
launch
hay que
window.
bajarlo más todavía.
However, we're not sure when it would be. It
Vamos
could
a
be 24 or
poner-
48 hours after today. It'll depend on how far we get into the countdown. But right now, heading for a T0 at 8:28
Ahí.
Central,
Ahora
13:28
supongo que
Universal
no.
Time.
No, ¿o
Kate,
qué?
everything is
For most of us, it would be completely unaffordable. In order for us to get to Mars and back with lots of people, lots of cargo,
entonces
multiple
lo que haré
times,
será-
reusability really is a must.
In
Vamos.
advance of our first missions to Mars,
Ahora
Starship will
también se
execute
les
a
oye
number
más
of
fuerte que a
missions
mí
with
o
both
ya
cargo
está,
and
ya
people.
está, ya es
If you
más
had to
aceptable
wait for
esto.
a new airplane to be constructed every
Beyond.
now in the near term, you'd rarely go anywhere, and for most of us, it would be completely unaffordable. In order for us to get to
Ah,
Mars
mejor,
and
vale,
back with
perfecto.
lots of people, lots of cargo, multiple times,
Perfecto.
reusability really is a
A
must.
ver, 17
In
minutos.
advance of our first missions to Mars, Starship will
¿Veis
execute
esto que
a number
enseñan
of
ahora?
missions with both
Es
cargo
como
and
en el
people,
futuro
starting with Earth orbit and eventually
pretenden
expanding
que
to
aterrice el
Mars and
cohete
beyond.
este otra vez en la
Now, in the
Tierra.
near
Lo
term,
cogerán
and
con
closer
los,
to home,
con los
Starship will also
brazos
be critical
esos,
to other
como si
programs.
fuese una
Once
foca.
fully operational, it'll deliver
No va a
a
ser
full-size,
fácil. En este
upgraded
vuelo
version
de
of our
prueba, si
Starlink
llega a
satellites.
salir,
And that's super
no,
exciting
no
because our
aterrizará
next
así,
generation
sino que
satellites
dejarán que se
represent
caiga en
a
el
step
mar.
forward in Starlink's capabilities
Que
and
se
will allow
hunda.
us to connect millions of more people around the world with high-speed internet to watch webcasts.
Yo
Such
particularmente
an
en
exciting
el lanzamiento
future
de
ahead
hoy,
of us, but
con
first,
que llegue
let's
ahí,
talk a
o sea, una
little
vez
about
sale
how we got
de,
to where we
de
are
la
today.
plataforma de
Now, Starship's
lanzamiento,
testing ramped up in July
aproximadamente a
2019
unos,
with our Star
a
Hopper
unos
prototype,
15,
sort of a
20
short
kilómetros de
version of the Starship
altitud,
that we see today.
se
There's a
llega a
great
un
photo
punto
of
en
it.
el que le
It was
llaman
just over
Max Q,
18
que
meters
es,
tall. It had
ya
a
veréis que
single
pone
Raptor
Max Q.
engine, and we
Es cuando,
had it
es
to
cuando el
test fly,
vehículo
perform
sufre la
low-level
mayor
altitude
cantidad
maneuvers
de
and test
presión
landing.
aerodinámica
The initial test
debido
flight
a la
at top
velocidad
reached about
y
20
la,
meters altitude.
y la
That was followed
atmósfera.
by the one that you've got on your screen here.
Si
This was our
supera, yo con que
150 meter
supere la
altitude
fase
hop.
esa
We,
de Max Q,
went up, took a little
yo
jaunt
yo
away
creo
about
que
100
esto ya
meters
es,
or
ya
so
es
away
un
from the
éxito
launch
total.
pad. Use that Raptor
Si
engine to
se hace
fly and
polvo
actually
el
land,
cohete
and
durante,
actually this,
durante el
hopper
Max
is actually
Q,
down at
bueno,
Starbase now.
Yeah, I love
eso
this
quiere decir
thought.
que
It's
habrá
so
que,
fun
habrá
to
que
see it fly.
reforzarlo.
After a series of
que,
150
que
meter
se
hop
han,
tests with
que se
earlier
han, se han
prototypes, the
pasado
Starship program saw a
quitándole
major
peso
breakthrough
al,
during
al
a
cohete
test
este de
flight of the
acero.
vehicle known as serial number 8 or SN8. You can see it there on your screen now. In December 2020, SN8 demonstrated a first of its kind controlled
Ahora están
aerodynamic
enseñando
descent and landing
vuelos de
with
prototipo de la segunda fase,
belly flop.
del
The
primer,
SN8
cuando
prototype
consiguieron
rose to an
hacerlo
altitude
volar
of
y
12.5 kilometers
y
or
aterrizar,
7.8 miles,
no
and
sin
conducted
antes
a belly
cargarse
flop
3
maneuver, which you
cohetes,
can see
pero
there,
bueno.
during its descent. While it didn't stick the landing, the test was a
15
major
minutos,
milestone
15
in the
minutos
development of Starship.
y de momento no han dicho
In
nada,
fact, you
de
should
momento
be able
no
to
han
see
dicho nada
that,
de
unfortunately failed
de
landing.
que haya problemas aquí.
It was fun to watch, though.
Rapid unscheduled disassembly, but learned a lot of data.
Y de momento no han dicho nada de problemas, no han dicho nada de problemas de ningún tipo. Así que esto tiene buena pinta, ¿eh? Esto tiene buena pinta. Esto podría despegar, ¿eh?
We did that belly flop maneuver, which is so much more fun to say than controlled descent, aerodynamic maneuver. That was all stable, but unfortunately we had a dramatic end on this flight as well.
Esto
We had
podría
a failure
despegar.
on one of
Esto
the
podría
engines that
despegar.
resulted
Yo
in
creo
another
que
pretty large
van a
fireball.
hacer por lo
But
menos
what
la
was really
cuenta
cool about
atrás
both
de
of those
menos.
flights was how
Hola,
much
mira,
we
¿ves
learned
lo que os
just between
decía?
serial numbers 8
Antes
and
de
9,
que consiguiesen
how quickly we were able to
aterrizarlo de
achieve our
una
primary
pieza,
objectives in
se
those two
cargaron un
In
par de
addition to that,
cohetes.
we got so much data that demonstrated control of the vehicle in that subsonic regime.
Ultimately, we performed 9 Starship high-altitude test flights in total, and then, as you see on your screen there, in May of 2021,
buenas las
SN15
lentejas.
launched from Starbase,
A ver
reached
qué
an
dicen,
altitude of
vamos a ver
about
qué
10 kilometers,
dicen.
performed a number
High heating phase of entry, combined with
¿Qué
the later
dicen
ability
por
to refill
aquí?
Starship's
A ver.
tank with propellants, the fuel and oxygen, while we're on orbit.
Fíjate
That
cómo
will
está,
enable
está,
us to
está
have a
el,
fully reusable
está
transportation
las
system
paredes del
that's designed to
cohete
carry
están
both
todas
crew
blancas,
and
ya
cargo
eso es que
on
está
long duration
prácticamente
missions,
todo
interplanetary
el
flights,
combustible
and will help
cargado.
humanity get to the moon.
Eso quiere decir que está prácticamente todo el combustible cargado. A ver si hay algo por aquí en Twitter. La verdad es que es un poco decepcionante Twitter, no sé. Bueno, no el programa en sí, sino la gente que nada más que dicen chuminas. Nada más que dicen chuminas. Oh, pam. Uno que dice que de aquí a unos años todos los lanzamientos de SpaceX se harán desde Cabo Cañaveral y no desde Boca Chica. Puede ser. Boca Chica les han puesto muchos problemas. Muchos problemas. Bueno, nada espectacular en...
Now, we are
Nada
continuing into our countdown. We're
nada
about
espectacular.
T-12
Menos 12
minutes to go.
minutos.
I think it's the
Menos
perfect
12
time for another
minutos.
check-in with John Insprucker. How's it going, John?
Well, Chevy, the good news
Menos
is
12
that,
minutos.
the NEPs
Esto
and
está
teams
ya
are
que quema.
currently working.
Esto está
No
que quema.
significant launch vehicle issues. You can see the T clock there on your screen, T-minus 12 minutes, 10 seconds, and counting. Propellant loading is
Menos 12
continuing on both the
minutos.
Super
Esto
Heavy
está,
and the ship
a ver.
stages. You can see the graphic on the left-hand side of the screen. Most recently, we began loading liquid oxygen and liquid methane fuel into the header tanks on Starship. Those are 2 small tanks just underneath the nose of the second stage. Now that started at T-minus 27 minutes.
12 minutos, 12 minutos. Esto está, pero a punto, ¿eh?
That will be wrapping up about T-minus 9 minutes.
Esto
Now, the
está a
Starship
punto.
second stage main fuel and LOX tanks are loaded for flight right now. The Super Heavy first stage booster propellant loading is continuing. And that'll go till
Vale,
about
dice que
T-minus
así.
3 minutes.
El John Insprucker está comentando como al margen de... ¿Veis que toda la parte inferior del cohete está toda blanca? ¿Vale? Porque ya está cargado con el combustible ese súper frío. Es un gas que lo enfrían para que sea líquido. Pero además en la punta de todo del cohete, en la punta negra, tiene unos deposititos más pequeños que también los llenan de metano y oxígeno, los llenan de combustible. Y el motivo por el cual ponen estos depósitos arriba de todo el cohete es para poder equilibrarlo mejor en la bajada. Porque si no, quedaría todo el peso del combustible de la parte de abajo del cohete y sería imposible corregir la posición del cohete, no caería lo suficientemente plano, caería de culo y bueno, se desintegraría al entrar en la atmósfera. Se las saben todas. Se las saben todas.
our production facility,
10
which is
minutos,
the
10
other part of
minutos.
Starbase in addition to the launch pad.
Of course, as part of rapidly
Pues
iterating
veto a
on our
saber,
test
igual lo
program, we're
intentan,
also rapidly
igual lo intentan,
iterating on our production
Igual lo
system
intentan
to produce
hasta,
Starships
igual van
and
hasta la
Super
cocina
Heavies.
esta
Last
gente.
year, the Starbase team produced 4 Starship Super Heavy boosters and 5 Starships.
Igual lo
along with
intentan
their
hasta la
200th
cocina.
Raptor 2 engine, and they're only scaling up from
Menos de
there.
10 minutos para el
Yeah, it's
lanzamiento.
incredible to think that for 2023, production has 5 boosters and 8 Starships going. So it's incredible, and it's important to
Menos
have
de
that
10
system
minutos
built,
para el lanzamiento.
in basically the manufacturing line, so that we have product ready to go as soon as we're done with this test.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, I mean, we talked about how Starship is an order of magnitude more propellant,
Sobre todo, lo más importante, no puede explotar en la plataforma de lanzamiento. Si esto explota o a una altura muy baja, eso sería un desastre importante. Eso sería un problemón. ¡Guau! ¡Cuánta gente ahí! Un montón de gente en las islas de enfrente mirando... En las islas de enfrente mirando a ver qué... Hombre, tiene que ser chulo estar ahí, pero guau, qué miedo.
I know, it must be really,
Qué
really
miedo.
exciting.
Pero
to go
bueno,
see this.
también
I
se
mean, just
ponen
the sheer amount of
en...
power on Starship, you're gonna feel it down there.
También
when this
se
thing lifts
ponen
off from the pad.
en
We've actually got a great
en Cabo
shot here
Cañaveral,
of
así
the natural
que...
surroundings around
Bueno,
the pad.
supongo que no es
Oddly enough,
problemático.
most of the pads end up being around sort of wild locations like this. Wild locations like this. But coming up on
Sí,
T-minus
sí, es
8
como,
minutes, I think it's another good time for
sí, es
check-in
como
with John.
quien va a ver el béisbol, se hacen la barbacoa ahí y todo.
T-minus just over 8 minutes to the first test flight of Starship. Currently, we are pressurizing second stage. We are also
Para que
closing
os
out
hagáis
liquid
una
oxygen
idea,
and fuel header loads on the second stage.
ya os lo dije el lunes, ya os lo comenté un poco el lunes, pero la potencia de este bicharraco es monstruosa, monstruosa. 33 motores monstruosamente potentes. O sea, esto tiene que hacer temblar hasta, vamos, es que creo que se tendría que notar casi aquí. A ver, ¿han dicho algo?
We will have the 10 million pounds of liquid propellant on board. Now, in the next few minutes,
Uf,
the
vale,
system
ya
will begin
están...
its final alignment for flight during the quiet period
Ya,
when the rocket's not
ya
burning.
la parte de arriba ya está
Automated
cargada de
flight termination
combustible.
system will be armed, and a final TVC checkout will be performed. Those are the engine wiggles, and hopefully we'll be able to see that with the cameras underneath the vehicle and maybe even the second stage engines.
Dentro de 4 minutos, a menos 3 minutos, tiene que estar todo el cohete cargado de combustible. Ahora ya han cargado la parte superior del cohete. Me falta por cargar la parte inferior del cohete por completo, que eso pasará a menos 3 minutos. A menos 3 minutos debería estar todo el cohete cargado de combustible. De momento sin problemas con ninguna válvula. Toquemos madera. Que fueron los problemas que tuvieron la semana pasada, digo, perdón, el lunes pasado, hace 2 días, con... A ver.
But currently we're not hearing a need to hold, so at 6 minutes, 27 seconds, everything looks good. And of course, Kate Shiva, as we get close, we're going to get into the engine ignition sequence of 33 Raptors, and that's going to be something new for everybody.
I cannot wait for that moment. So, for those of you that are familiar with how we launch Falcon 9 rockets,
33 motores Raptor, eso tiene que ser, eso vamos, eso va a ser.
It's pretty different than what we do, or what we're attempting to do today. We're actually going to be igniting those 33 engines in banks or clusters, and that sequence starts at T-minus 6 seconds.
Qué monstruosidad.
Yeah, and
Ahí
the
los
ignition
tenéis,
sequence is a
todos
little
los
bit
motores
different,
Raptor.
both
de los 33 motores del cohete, con el anillo exterior, que son los motores exteriores, son inmóviles, no tienen rotación. Los interiores llevan unos motores que les llaman gimbal, que permiten orientar al motor para conducir, para dirigir el cohete.
And then over the next 4 seconds, the 3 sets of banks will ignite and eventually bring the booster up to a thrust to weight greater than 1 and hopefully ascent.
Super exciting. Like we said, pretty different from our Falcon 9 launches, and so this will be the first time that any of us have
5
gotten to
minutos,
see
a
this
punto
type
para
of
el primer vuelo de la
integrated
historia.
test flight with both the Starship
Mira,
and
uy.
the Super Heavy booster.
Everyone cheering
Y
as
se
we get
oye-
T-minus 5 minutes.
We want to remind everyone that success today is anything.
Yeah, it looks fun down there.
It
Come on,
sure
go join
does.
them.
For today, success is anything that we learn that helps improve the future builds of Starship. If we lift off and clear the pad, we're calling that a win.
Vale, y se oye como la gente empieza a aplaudir. Eso quiere decir que está a puntito. 5 minutos para el lanzamiento. 5 minutos para el lanzamiento.
Long for it, what's honestly seems
4
like
minutos para el
days and days
lanzamiento.
now,
Buah,
but really
buah,
it
buah, buah.
kind of comes down to
Necesito
years.
el aparato,
It has
necesito
been
el
a long
aparato.
time to get to
Necesito
where
el
we are
aparato de
today.
estrujar.
Now, fast forwarding a little bit,
Necesito el
we
aparato de
have the
estrujar.
opportunity to hold, if necessary, at
Menos
40
4
seconds.
minutos.
And we are able to hold there off of the Starship flight test. We've been following along for what honestly seems like days and days now, but really it kind of comes down to years. It has been a long time to get to where we are today.
Están aquí
Now, fast forwarding a little
contando.
bit, we have the opportunity to hold, if necessary, at 40 seconds. And we are able to hold there for about 15 minutes, or up to 15 minutes, and still be able to lift off.
Yeah, and that's a little bit
Ya
different
están,
from Falcon.
ya están diciendo que a lo mejor que
sequence on Falcon that,
a los 40 segundos lo podrían parar y que a pesar de que a los 40 segundos lo pueden parar, hasta 15 minutos más tarde pueden seguir. Yo la verdad es que ya yo estoy preparado para que despegue esto. Yo no estoy pa' hostias.
That should be wrapping up here shortly. In fact, it looks like
Yo no estoy pa'
fuel
hostias.
fill and drain valves are coming closed. That means first stage is fully loaded, second stage fully loaded, and at 10 million pounds of propellant on board the Starship launch vehicle.
I want to take a quick moment to say that the crowd energy here is electric. I feel like it's Falcon Heavy test demo all over again.
Ya está lleno de combustible. Ya está lleno de combustible. Ahora, no sé si me parece que es al minuto, no sé si es al minuto que desconectan todo el cacharro que es el que carga el combustible y mantiene o sea, hasta un minuto antes los ordenadores de la base controlan el cohete. A partir de un minuto creo que es, el cohete ya va con sus propios ordenadores. Mira cómo están todos que no les cabe la camisa en el cuerpo como yo. Están como yo, que no les cabe, vamos, no me cabe la camisa en el cuerpo. Menos de 2 minutos. Fíjate, mira, ya están moviendo los motores. ¿Veis cómo se van moviendo? Esos son los gimbals, los motorcillos que orientan el motor. Están haciendo las pruebas para asegurarse de que todo funciona bien. Menos un minuto para el despegue. Un minuto para el despegue. Buah. Esto lo van a intentar. Lo van a intentar. A ver, si pasan de los 40, si bajan de los 40 segundos, lo van a intentar. ¡Lo van a intentar! ¡Guau! ¡La! Baja de 40, baja de 40. Menos... menos de 30 segundos. ¡Hala! ¿Lo van a intentar? No me lo puedo creer. Lo van a intentar. Lo van a intentar. Menos 30. Oh, ¿qué ha pasado? Joder, ya me
Flight
parecía a
director
mí.
has called a hold. We are recycling. For the moment, we'll see where they move the clock back to. They could hold at T-minus 40 seconds. They could go to an earlier point.
Ah, ya me parecía a mí. Ya me parecía a mí. A la segunda, demasiado atrevido. Yo creo que es que aunque les funcione todo bien, yo creo que es que aunque les funcione todo bien, yo no sé, no quería decir nada, pues claro. Bueno, y vete tú a saber, y ahora ya digo aquí, nada, es que no va a volar, y luego cogen y lo hacen volar. Pero la verdad es que yo no las tenía y sigo sin tenerlas todas conmigo que vuele hoy, este cohete. Esto de que salga así a la segunda una cosa tan nueva, tan experimental, tan delicada. Porque claro, si esto... Vale, han parado la cuenta atrás para pegarle unos repasos. Claro, es que además tienen mucho tiempo por delante. Teóricamente la ventana de oportunidad, o sea, para lanzar el cohete, me parece que igual tienen hasta 1 hora más. Bueno, es como cuando tienes un examen y yo qué sé, lo tienes todo contestado y tal, pero te queda media hora y dices, hombre, pues vamos a repasarlo, ¿no? Asegurémonos, ¿para qué les vamos a regalar nada de tiempo? Asegurémonos de que está todo bien. Y no entregas el examen, bueno, por lo menos es lo que hacía yo. Yo no entregaba el examen hasta que me lo quitaban de las manos, aunque lo hubiese acabado media hora antes. Que normalmente nunca lo acaba media hora antes, pero bueno. Pues nada, pues han parado, como podéis leer aquí, han parado la cuenta atrás para hacer unos a ver, Insprucker.
John Insprucker again here at the Hawthorne webcast desk. We're holding a T-minus 40 seconds. What we've heard so far is we have a couple of issues we're working. One is the booster tank pressurization. Final pressurization was just a little bit long. That's not unusual. We've held at T-minus 40 seconds before to pressurize. That appears to have been resolved. At the same time on the second stage, they're working some final purging. We should know.
Vale, dicen que el Insprucker dice que habían visto algún problema con la presurización del combustible en el cohete principal, en el Super Heavy, que parece ser que esto está solucionado, y luego había también algún problemilla en la segunda fase, en lo que es la parte superior del cohete, la que va al espacio, que parece ser que están, si no lo han solucionado, están en ello. Así que vamos a ver, no todo está perdido, no todo está perdido.
And I'm sure all of the rehearsals and simulations that they've been doing have prepared them to evaluate the
No todo está perdido.
to try to get us in for today's launch attempt.
For those of you just joining, we have a brief hold at the T-minus 40 second mark. The team is resolving one issue with the bleed purge on the stage 2 Raptors. Like John just said, the teams are quickly working that, and it looks like the flags are
Dicen que sí que lo van, dicen que sí que lo han, que las cosillas estas por las que han parado la cuenta atrás, que lo tienen bastante solucionado y que van a volver a intentar la cuenta atrás. A ver, yo ojalá me equivoque, que conste que, como he dicho ya un montón de veces, lo más importante es que esto salga bien. Pero no me extrañaría que lo volviesen a parar a menos 10 o justo antes de la inyección. Van a volver, venga, ya están otra vez. Menos 28, ala, venga. Vamos a ver, pronto a menos 10 segundos, menos 10 segundos, aquí estamos. Ya están contándolo. 4, 3, ya está, lo han encendido. Va a despegar. ¿Qué hace? ¿Despega? ¿No puede? ¿No tiene fuerza? Sí, está despegando. Dios, lo que le cuesta subir, está despegando. ¡Hola! ¡Qué monstruosidad! Virgen del amor hermoso. Esto, para que os hagáis una idea, es como, yo qué sé, como hacer despegar un edificio entero. Esto es una monstruosidad. No somos del todo conscientes de la magnitud. Ahí está, ahí veis cómo va subiendo la velocidad. 500 kilómetros por hora, altitud 3 kilómetros. Y sigue. Y sigue fallando 4 motores. ¿Veis aquí a la izquierda? Con 4 motores, o sea, fallando 4 motores, y el cohete sigue como quien no quiere la cosa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Falla otro motor. Ha pasado Max Q. O sea, el momento de mayor presión aerodinámica ya lo ha pasado. Y el cohete no se ha roto. Ha fallado algún motor, pero como tiene tantos motores, aunque falle alguno, por lo visto puede seguir sin demasiados problemas. Qué virguería, qué invento. Mira cómo sigue. Vale, están a punto ahí, 16 kilómetros, están a punto de chapar el motor, el cohete principal. Están a punto de apagarlo, y seguramente de separar las dos partes del cohete. Ya está. Mira, la cámara del cohete principal. Tiene un par de cámaras del cohete principal, una exterior y una interior. A 30 kilómetros de altura están ya. Vale, están a punto de apagar los motores principales, los motores de la primera fase del cohete, la más potente. Ay, que esto se tuerce. Oh. Uy, se va para abajo. Vale, hasta aquí hemos llegado, Manolete. Venga. No, esto se está cayendo, ¿no? Yo juraría que soy yo, esto se está cayendo.
Yeah, Kate, right now it looks like we saw the start of the flip, but obviously we're seeing from the ground cameras The entire Starship
Vale,
stack
no,
continued
no,
to
no sé.
rotate. We should have had separation by now. Obviously,
No, no,
this is,
como dice
does
John
not appear to be
Insprucker,
a nominal
esto no
situation.
parece ser una
Yeah, it does appear to be
situación
spinning, but
nominal,
I do wanna
¿eh?
remind
No, no, no
everyone
es
that
normal.
everything
No, no se han
after clearing the
separado,
tower was icing
no se
on
han
the cake.
separado las dos partes del cohete. Vale, le han dado a lo que se llama Flight Termination. Yo juraría que han activado el sistema de terminación del cohete. Es decir, lo han hecho explotar. El cohete no se ha llegado a separar. No se ha llegado a separar. Bueno, un éxito, un éxito. El cohete no ha alcanzado órbita, no ha alcanzado la... De hecho, no iba a ser órbita completa, iba a ser solo casi órbita, pero un éxito, un éxito. Un éxito. No ha llegado a separarse y por supuesto la segunda fase no ha llegado a... Rapid and scheduled disassembly. Llaman rapid and scheduled disassembly. Sería algo así como un desmontaje rápido no previsto, un desmontaje rápido, un DRN, desmontaje rápido no previsto, que es la forma que utilizan para decir que se les ha cascado, que ha explotado el cacharro. Bueno, pues nada, no ha cumplido todos sus objetivos, pero no es problema. Hombre, mamá, no hace falta que nos dé todos los detalles de la actividad. No hace falta, sí, ha salido, ha despegado, no ha llegado a órbita, el cohete no ha llegado a separarse, con lo cual ha empezado a girar así medio descontroladamente y han cogido y lo han hecho explotar. Pero un éxito total. La próxima vez va a ser mucho mejor. Y un día de estos os voy a hacer un vídeo especial de de los muchos motivos por los que creo que este cohete va a ser la hostia. Bueno, ya es la hostia, pero la hostia hasta niveles que yo creo que van mucho más allá de lo que la gente habla. Mucho más allá de lo que la gente habla. De hecho, el hecho de que no haya llegado a órbita y que haya petado así y tal, yo creo que tampoco era una sorpresa para ellos. Yo creo que no ha sido una sorpresa. Yo creo que, a ver, sí lo tenían así como, bueno, si llega a órbita y vuelve a caer y todo bien, pues perfecto, pero que ese no era, yo creo que esa no era su misión, en realidad. Ellos lo que querían era que el cohete saliese y llegase lo suficientemente alto como para no tener ningún problema. Pero la semana que viene os voy a hacer un especial solo de eso. Pues nada, como siempre, gracias por aguantar hasta aquí. Pues nada, lo típico, dale al me gusta, suscríbete, la campanita y toda la mandanga si crees que ha valido la pena. Y como dijo Nelson, como dijo Nelson,
es verdad que tiene poder. Idos y difundid la palabra.
¡Difundidla! Así que lo dicho. Hasta que nos solamos.